Some dude that was fucking sleeping with a fox. Listen, you can get a fox from the fucking woods to fucking wear a harness, and this motherfucker's walking a fox to the Starbucks. I mean, it's a fox. Hello, everyone. Hola, mis amigos. You're listening to Oh My God, Hi, Hijo de Dios. Hola. With me, George Lopez. Porque, ¿sabes qué? Let's do the show. Porque I got a lot of things to do. I gotta go to that dry cleaner ahí. My kid fell. Se pegó la cabeza. I gotta go get some Neosporin Paul.
You know what George is?
Oh, I'm sure he's around here somewhere.
What's his name?
George Lopez.
George Lopez.
Oh my God!
OMG.
OMG! Hi!
Oh my God, hi! You probably know me better than anybody over the last 20 plus years.
3 years, yeah.
When I'm not here, I never talk that much in a row.
No.
Like we talk for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Or even 10 minutes or 15, and you're being, remotely amusing or whatever anybody thinks, but I'm being honest, 100% honest.
To say the least.
And I've never been allowed to be honest. Even in the beginning, you don't know that when you're more successful, they're going to ask you to be less of you and more like somebody they want. Or at least that's what it was for me.
How about
But
that?
No, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what to say. I mean, I think I learned a lot in the first show, but also I had good people looking after me that allowed me not to be crazy because, Roseanne goes crazy or Brett Butler, they go crazy, comedians go crazy. And Andrew Dice Clay had the guy, Bless His House. That was a pretty good show.
yeah, great show.
And he called Les Moonves on the weekend to complain about Bruce. And Les Moonves canceled the show. And that show was doing well because it's not worth the headache.
Oh, man.
But, television has been on a long, long time. And when you look at the characters or people who have survived, a lot of them maybe weren't even very long.
Yeah.
But they make more of an impact on you than some show that maybe was on multiple times as long as the show that you liked. But in our culture, pets or things aren't, I think a little bit more now, but aren't revered as friends or emotional pets or something to help you get through.
Yeah, emotional support.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And with Lisa, she helped me to become somebody who ended up rescuing pets, which I thought I never would be. Like, when they bark, I go crazy, but a dog barks. But also, I wouldn't say it's made me different. I mean, I really, early on, I thought about letting them all go one night.
Just opening the door.
And I can't say that they appreciate it more because they know that maybe they're going to get the needle. But there's just something inside of me that she turned on in me that makes me save dogs' lives. Not cats. Fuck them. In Mexico, they see you walking in a bar with a cat, they'll fucking throw you out. You go walk in with a puta for Amsterdam with my tail with 4 lights and 1 light smell like pelo. They'd be like, come on in.
Right.
The cats are the devil in Mexico.
Oh, my gosh. Cat. Well, at least Arturo.
And so are drivers who drive their trucks in the middle of the night. All of those guys.
Yeah, they
Llorona
cannot be
and
trusted
the
at
truck
all.
driver.
Those guys are
sneak in
trouble.
17,000 pounds of cocaine in the front tire.
They don't give a shit about cats.
El Chapo,
Yeah.
I'm sure his mom left him right there with a light on by himself.
Yeah, right? He's a latchkey kid.
All right, so yes, so
Lisa Arturo is incredibly passionate
Big
about
Love Rescue,
saving pets. So
and she is.
Can't wait to talk to her.
That is her lot in like it. I heard Lawrence Welk say that one time.
Oh.
No, I didn't. But if anybody was
you
going to
remember
say
everything. I was thinking that was
I do remember everything.
It is.
Probably because I had nothing to look at. I made words my friends.
That's I think something that people learn about you is that you never forget a thing.
I don't
like
forget
a
anything.
thing, not a lyric
Not even kicking me in my culo
in your ass.
as a 13-year-old just trying to get out and have an adventure.
Kicked me in my asshole. One of the funniest things ever.
Oh, man.
Ooh. It hurts me just to think about that.
When I had my colonoscopy, I said, go in there and see if there's any ulterior damage from early on in life.
I just had one of those.
¿Qué pasó, Teo? Ulterior damage. How was your colonoscopy, by the way?
It was fantastic. Thanks.
You weren't around like I was when you had to drink 13 gallons of seawater from right there at the Santa Monica Pier. Let me tell you how bad it was. Like, the stuff isn't that bad anymore. It might be a pill.
It wasn't as bad as
when I was
thought.
45 or 40, let's say that was probably 2001. I had my first colonoscopy, and they made me drink 6 big ass bottles of stuff that tastes like water from the sea.
It was horrible tasting. You couldn't get it.
And the guy says, I'm giving you, I think there may be 4 bottles, and he dropped them off at 3 p.m. and he says, I'm going to come back at 9. And when he came back at 9, I think I had drank maybe 1 and had opened the other one. And he stood there because by midnight I had to be done.
You had to watch you do your thing.
And it was the worst. So now you can,
Hey.
take a couple of fucking Alka-Seltzers and clean
seriously.
your culo.
It was not a problem for me. I started the night before. The hardest thing is not eating, but I threw down for a few minutes or a few hours, and then I slept great. Woke up, did the same thing. My wife's doing it right now.
I don't want to see what's going to come out of that. Thank God they don't
Thank
save
you.
any of that and show you.
Well, it's
Man,
early.
what do you think that's going to... There'll be some fucking cadenas in there, some chains.
I think she might have been a little stopped up before this. So this
plastic.
came just in time. No, I don't know. She's... it's going to be horrific for me tonight because she's going to be not happy, and I'm going to be...
If she starts dribbling
eating
a
a
basketball, take off. Like, that leg kick is coming up. All right.
Beautiful. Let's let's get to the news then. Let's start off with the news. Well, here's our first one from TimesNowNews.com. Some of these high-end things.
It's the worst.
Man marries same woman 4 times, divorces her thrice in 37 days to get extended pay leave.
That's a lazy motherfucker.
Come on. He's a Taiwanese man, married to the same woman 4 times, and divorced her thrice to get extended. Unbelievable.
Wait a minute. Tell me again.
He was married. He marries the same woman 4 times and divorces her 3 times in 37 days to get extended pay leave. So he's kind of getting around the whole deal. So married the same one 4 times.
Where is this? How stupid is this dude? Is it Koreatown?
So when he
Out there in Gardenia?
he said when he requested for bank leave, the bank approved an 8-day leave for the first marriage. He got married on April 6th last year, and once his marriage leave was over, he divorced his wife and married her again the next day to ask for another paid leave, which he felt was entitled to by law. He repeated this until he married 4 times and divorced 3 times. This way, he managed to apply leaves for 4 marriages for a total of 32 days.
What's his name? Lee Say Yes?
He said,
Is it Chinito, dude?
yeah, a Taiwanese man.
Yeah, same thing, Chinito. Across the board.
Same-
That's across the
Same
board. It's
thing.
miscellaneous. It's Latino miscellaneous.
But, however, things didn't go as planned. The bank figured out what he was trying to do and refused to grant him extra paid leave. The bank granted him paid leave for 8 days for the first marriage. So he did all this for nothing.
I mean, think about that dude, man.
Come on, that's
trying to pull the scam on a place that he works at, marries the same woman 3 times, trying to just get what, a benefit?
Yeah, he's trying to get 24 more days out of the deal of vacation, paid leave. How cheesy is that? When you get caught for that,
oh man,
that's rough. That is but his wife went along with it.
That's another one. They probably both have cuernos right there below. That's probably like the crying game. They just change clothes.
Cuernos down below. Both of them got a couple
He'll
cuernos.
go down there. He'll wear the wig one week, and it's like, that's another lady I met after the tsunami.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is like so embarrassing when you get caught like being that cheesy because it could have worked.
But I mean, there's a
guess.
lot of people that steal in between the margins, but not where you bring the same person, maybe changes a car or her top. This is like you're trying to steal money for 24 days.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's stealing, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. You're kind of setting yourself up. And I wonder what his wife looked like. They were like, "You're marrying her for the 4th time? Hello."
When was this? What year did this happen? Just right now?
This was this year, yeah. Yeah. Yes, it was
it
in
mail order?
April of last year.
What about somebody mail order? Like I watch YouTube. You found your bride, but you know anybody that's ever sent away for a woman and got one that shows up at the airport with like 2 good teeth and all the rest of them are black.
No, but
You know, with just nasty feet and.
Have you
Ash in her
ever
heels.
seen anybody who's had a like on TV or anything? Mail order bride? I've never seen anything. I just know of the stories.
When I was working, I worked with a woman who was Taiwanese, beautiful girl, and she was dating a police officer that was on the force, allegedly LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so mean to that guy that he would cry at a party.
Oh my God!
And he was an LAPD officer. And he was like, kind of like, I guess, insecure in himself. A lot of times they become police officers to kind of like throw authority. Mm-hmm. But she would say in broken English, "You want me to make Rick cry?" And we'd be like, "Yeah." I would say, "Yeah." Everybody would say no, but I'd say, "Fuck yeah, let's see."
Let's see Rick.
And he tried to say it was the mace, but we knew it was his broken heart.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine that? I would think though.
Brutalized him. Also, remember this was from a bygone era that I grew up in. And I had a friend of mine that I worked with, great dude, lost track of him. And can I say his name and then we can block it out?
Yeah.
What's his name? I worked in Northridge. Good dude. He almost looked like Tom Hanks had an older brother.
Oh yeah.
He had the same kind of nose.
Yeah.
And would go roller skating at Balboa, not even at the beach, like Balboa Park here in the San Fernando Valley. And he would hook up with chicks, and he would go to Zim's. Remember Zim's?
Yeah, of course I remember.
Zim's was
yeah.
a restaurant, and you would go in there, and this was the 70s. Everybody had pelo, and nobody wore a condom, and they'd just be shooting crema everywhere. You know, they didn't have cell phones. You know.
To tell on
You just get a smell and try to, be like, you're like, Rin Tin Tin, try to find a smell.
Oh my God.
At Zim's or Black Angus or Red Onion or, Kathy's. And so everybody would go to those places and was quite the, he was quite the roller skater. And I wasn't, so he would say to me, "Come with me." I never went roller skating with him. And he would be like, "Come with me, man. I meet all these chicks out there." And I said, "How do you meet him?" He just, he's a good looking dude.
Yeah.
So I go to his apartment. He has an apartment on Reseda, worked with me at a BMW. Like, this dude was like Rick Springfield, but he worked in Northridge, You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
Like, he had that vibe,
The guy, yeah.
Nothing from Loverboy before, not right now.
Yeah.
If you threw the
Reno.
singer of Loverboy over the mountain over the summer, he'll come back up
Oh, like
and
Reno.
finish.
and wrap it up.
Everybody's wet. So here's why I never heard anyone else tell me. So I'm a Chicano dude. I go to his apartment on a Sunday. She brings her friend for me, and they're both Latinas, and we have drinks on the balcony. And she says to her friend that she's only using for his money and what he can do for her. I don't think if they knew that I understand Spanish. And at work, I told him, and
Oh, man.
they got in a big fight, and she came to work and like confronted me. And I'd really never been confronted. It was like in your early 20s, and somebody is waiting for her in the car that's on and gets out, and she's yelling
And she
at
got
me.
in your face.
And I said, "Hey, I heard you say that." "No, we didn't. I heard you say," and I told her, I don't know if. I don't know, man. But that was my dude. And I think I told him, and I think, I'm not going to say what happened because I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure, because I haven't talked to him in 40 years, that it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And that whenever I left that job, I don't think I saw again. But,
Wow.
But
that's a proud moment, though. You stood and delivered.
in the 3 times that's happened in my life, every one of the 3 times that I've been out on the limb to tell somebody, hey, maybe this person isn't what they appear to be to you, that every one of the times that I stepped up and spoke out cost me the friendship with that person.
But it worked out the way you thought it. You
What?
had warned them about it. Like you warned them.
Hold on.
I know. Hello. Which one is this one?
Fucking Gary Gilmore over here.
Sour ale. But it worked out the way you told them it was going to, right? It didn't work out well for them. You warned them, but then it cost you friendship.
I could have said nothing.
Yeah, and you've been friends maybe
And
today.
they would have been double,
two
two timing. But
Oh.
whatever. That's a good question. Would you like a friend to tell you something that they know that you don't know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the number?
It's 818. You know, what is the number?
But do you want it? Is it better to know or not to know?
Ignorance is bliss.
I mean, no one's going to be 100% honest, but if you see somebody, like I saw somebody at a restaurant in Northridge that those two people thought they were away from people, and then I went in there and saw them in the back booth, and I told it was a friend of mine's brother, and I didn't talk to that guy after.
Really? No kidding.
Either I'm really full of shit, or no one takes any kind of friendship looking at a friend that is being honest to you.
Exactly. And when you see it coming.
But if the girl says, like she said, he's just telling you that because he wants me.
Ooh,
that worked on one guy. But if anybody knows me, you could look at her and look at me and go, he wouldn't ever get that.
Conversely,
so no, I would say no. So and do you let it still continue? I would say I'm going to say no, because I don't think anybody wants to be lied to or to be treated is that disrespect, or to be off the right track. No, like almost to have an illusion as a relationship.
Yeah, well,
I'll be at Excalibur Thursday through Sunday.
Try the veal.
It's an illusion.
I on the other hand, I try to talk two of my friends out of getting married, and they both got married and stayed with their wives for 20 plus years. I was completely
what did you say
wrong.
Though?
I told the one guy.
At least if the guy could say, "Listen, hey man, I value your opinion," like somebody we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, if you're a friend, man, maybe. And you say, listen, I appreciate it, but I got it from here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know me. I kind of don't like to ruffle feathers anyway. I have trouble with conflict in most areas. And I told this guy, I go, hey.
Is that why every time we go out, we get fucking hammered? Because I say, hey, you want another beer? And you can't say no?
Well, that's me and the alcoholic in me, too. Yeah. I told this guy, before he got married, I go, don't get married. You don't want to get married. I can tell you don't get married. She doesn't love you for who you are. She loves you for what you could do for her. I wouldn't get married if you'd please don't get married. And then at his wedding, he's in Vegas. I said, get my car, we'll drive. I will support you, man. You don't need to be married right now. Because he's looking at other chicks. He's talking to other girls. I'm like, this is not a good thing for you. You're going to lose.
You sure this isn't the wedding singer with those out there?
So it was an all-black wedding except
Jeff
for
Gillooly, Julie Gillooly.
Julie Gillooly. Yeah, and then he gets married, and I'm the only white dude at the wedding, and he's all, "Why didn't you stand up and say something when they get your chance?" I'm all, dude, that wasn't gonna happen. And he was a great friend of mine. He was married for many. He's still married today to her. And then my other friend, I said,
but do you think that it was what it was, and she toned it down, or the relationship continued like the way they were going?
I think he's the one who dialed it in. He was a guy who probably shouldn't have been getting married at the time, in my opinion. But then he was a great husband and a great father, and the whole nine. He locked it in.
To be elusive isn't as easy anymore.
Yeah.
So, you almost have to think that monogamy has thrived in the era of the phone, and the era of FaceTime, and the era of being connected. Because it's not like you can say, oh, I went to bed and I didn't hear that you called.
Yep.
They FaceTime you or text you. There's a way to get a hold of you. There weren't as many avenues in our day where you could say, I fell asleep watching TV. That shit don't work anymore.
Yeah, and there's a way to know exactly where you are. They can track your phone even if they're not in touch with you.
Yeah, that's why OnStar
OnStar is great.
Was a brilliant idea. But if you have a satellite that could tell somebody's old lady from Monrovia that he was at the Spearmint Rhino on Van Nuys, you don't want that service in your life.
God. How about that? No OnStar. Well, now if you let your significant other, kids, anyone, give them your phone information, they can tell you exactly where you are 24 hours a day. They know exactly where you are. Like my stepdaughter could tell my wife where I'm at right now. Only because I gave her my information to buy something or something at some point. And she knows exactly where I'm at.
What are you doing giving people your information, man?
I don't know. It's family. I think it's okay. And then you don't realize they get all this stuff.
Are you serious?
Wow. I don't think she's got mine, to be honest with you. But I mean, she could, if I did. She's definitely got my wife's. She's got to look out for her.
She does?
Oh, she's got Marcy's, yeah. Because she's always looking up and she's worried about her all the time. She goes, "Where are you? Are you okay?" Da da da.
Oh man, I don't know.
She knows exactly where.
This motherfucker got over there. Some
She's some spyware.
some goddamn fucking sex cult over there.
Yeah, well,
Everybody throwing palo, changing each other's phone numbers everywhere.
that's one of my favorite things.
Spawn Ranch over there.
Throwing palo. I could never say that to my wife. You want to throw a little palo
fucking
tonight?
tacones, Spawn Ranch.
Tacones.
All right, let's
do another one because this one's kind of interesting. This is from the New York Times, which is actually something we're familiar with. .com. New York man kept sharks in his pool in his basement.
come on, man. The motherfucking shark in the water. You have to be salt water. You just can't have a fucking pool with a shark in there.
Right?
Come on, man. That
right?
dude had a and what kind of shark?
He had
A
five
dick shark.
small.
Come in here.
He goes, when the authorities,
Come in here. The dick shark is gonna get
the
you.
old dick shark gonna get you tonight. When the authorities made a search in 2017,
Listen, in Jaws, in the original Jaws, Steven Spielberg was a young director. He didn't know that Bruce, the shark, the minute they put that motherfucker in the salt water, he wasn't gonna be able to bite Barnaby, whatever that motherfucker's name was. Clef, Joe, what was his name? Man, what was Robert Shaw's character?
the one with the cleft asshole.
The one with the cleft culo.
Shit, I lost my. I gotta.
Quince! When he went and scratched his.
Yeah.
That was a special effect in our day.
Yeah. big
Robert
time.
Shaw went over and put his fingernails down. Everybody in the theater is like, ah!
Yeah. that
Or
was
some
pretty-
rubber fucking head that comes out of the left of the screen.
Yep.
Everybody flips out.
Or the foot that was still in the
There's a-
shoe floating by.
That's a
That
good
was
one.
pretty good.
That was like that dude, my cousin that got hit by the train. Hey, you guys, keep it down in there.
He made a cameo.
But I don't know how this dude's keeping sharks in his pool.
Come on, man. That's a little okay.
Probably throw some Morton salt at the bottom, Epsom salts down there. They keep dying.
Yeah, authorities made a search in 2017, home of a man who had recently been spotted in Georgia with 5 small sharks in the back of his truck. How does that happen?
Oh, that's like the fucking petting zoo where I grew up. Like they made like a little fucking hammerhead shark. You could
Right.
you could kiss it. The guy would hold the tail,
Right.
and you could kiss it or pet it.
Right, sell baskets of bread for
like
the kids
a dollar.
to feed them by
Yeah,
hand.
yeah. A dollar. You know, the little monkey on the chain, like little cadena, he'd grab your nuts. You know, he could do 2 tricks, but if you're like, hey, what else can he
Kill
do?
me.
He'd grab your fucking
that's awesome.
cuerno with all his might. His little monkey strength, man. If he's that strong, you think there's no way that little fucking chain can hold him. But I guess it does. Is there a fucking monkey grip?
Little stretch
Oh.
Armstrong.
He
Boing.
gripped that
Yeah.
fuck. Oh man, your dick would go through his fingers. You know, it's like claymation. Eh?
Oh god,
Don't ever let a monkey fucking grab your nuts.
that's what we got. That's what we gleaned
Keep
from the New
that
York
one.
Times story today. Don't ever
let a monkey
grip your nuts.
People go to like El Salvador, monkeys are out there dancing, ladies' dresses, and it's cute for 30 seconds, and they realize that you don't have food like they wanted, and they'll fucking take that long monkey thumb and put it right in your oi. You're wearing some loose-fitting shorts.
Ah, jeez.
The rest of your trip, you won't be so excited to go to Machu Picchu when you got a fucking monkey thumb in your culo the first night there.
Ah, Jesus. So, anyways, there's a guy with some sharks.
And those motherfuckers just live everywhere, man. You think you're in a 5-star hotel, be a fucking monkey under the bed.
Oh, God. The loose-fitting sharks, man. That's the one that's going to stay with me
You're
for a
running,
while.
your little fucking balls are flying out. That monkey will be like, hey, your balls are fucking hanging out. He'll grab you with that long-ass arm.
Oh, jeez, Pat. All
There's
right.
no way, man. So
All
what
right.
happened? The dude had
Don't
sharks
make a
in there?
mess.
What
Yeah,
happened?
he had
They kept dying?
They found the carcasses, unfortunately, of 2 leopard sharks and a hammerhead shark and the snout of an endangered small-toothed sawfish. That's horrible.
Maybe the dude's just trying to make medicine for for Bangkok.
Joshua Seguin.
They eat all that stuff, in some countries.
Yeah, they eat everything.
They shoot a tiger.
Yeah,
They
right.
make soup out of the bone, and you think you can,
How sad, eh?
fucking elevate yourself in life because you ate some fucking tiger bone soup.
Yeah, that's ridiculous,
Gotta
right?
show it.
You
That's
think
gotta
that's like the greatest thing in the world, and it's
Eye of the Tiger. That song was written because the dude had Eye of the Tiger like some soup.
I almost bought that. I'm like, really?
Rising up, back to the street.
Yeah.
Got my guts, got my glory.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, okay. I hit it too.
Look at this now.
I remember the number 818-533-1843.
Man, what was I don't remember the question though. Would it be safe to tell your friends something that they don't know?
Yes.
That you have privy, privy.
Right?
That's why I'm Dick College. Come on. Horrible.
818-533-1843. And that's our news. We can go to some voicemails. Ratch Schnaus. Oh, we got headphones on. Good. We had them on the whole time. Makes my hair look better. Now we need them.
George, how's it going? Longtime fan. I was listening to your podcast and you were talking about stories of when you lived in the San Fernando Valley. I actually live on San Fernando and Balboa. So my question is, what other memories do you have of growing up in the valley? And when you used to get in trouble or any mischievous stories? Let me know. Take care.
Well, all right. The guy lives on San Fernando and Balboa. San Fernando and Balboa, that was where the Treasury was. Mm-hmm. That was where, what was the dude's name from Fast Times at Ridgemont High? The Judge Reinhold?
Oh, Judge Reinhold was, what was his name? Can't remember his name.
Was it
Brad?
Brad, yeah. That's where he's driving when he's wearing the captain's outfit when he has to go deliver.
The pirate outfit.
And Nancy Wilson pulls over, or the girl from the Heart.
Yeah.
Not the one with niacin, but the other one, the skinny one.
Ann and Nancy.
Ann and Nancy.
One of the two, yeah.
And right there on Balboa, that's where the first Vans store was in the valley. There was a Treasury. There's a great Jack in the Box right there on Balboa near like Devonshire, DeSoto, right up right there. And near Granada Hills where John Elway hit the light bulb.
Yep.
And all of that stuff, man, like in Northridge, the skate place where people would come like from different neighborhoods. We weren't welcome there. Devonshire Downs, Jimi Hendrix played Devonshire Downs, which is right down from there. They would have, the fair there. Mm-hmm. The Doors played at Devonshire Downs, Jimi Hendrix. We used to go watch wrestling. I followed Mil Máscaras to his car.
There at Devonshire Downs?
As like an 11-year-old, and then we became friends later in life, and he signed a mask for me.
That's awesome.
And I started crying when I got it.
Super
for
cool.
my birthday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In a few days. But then, so really everything that was kind of happening was happening right there where that dude lives. Cheech grew up right there by San Fernando Mission and Balboa.
Wow.
But that guy's in the right place, man. That's
right.
The valley was the Valley Girl, the mall, and all that stuff was great.
I lived on Devonshire and Zelza. And
right there.
Yep. And Devonshire and Balboa was where one of the early In-N-Outs was as well. In-N-Out Burgers. It was right there early on.
There was one over there by me, San Fernando,
where was that?
Laurel Canyon and San Fernando Mission, 1973. I think it was the second one.
That's way early. Yeah, that's super,
And then, let's see, the Brady Bunch House, Oil Studio City. Oh,
yeah. The Val. It was 150 degrees.
Oh, it was back in the,
1,000 degrees, I think.
Man, those were some good days, man.
Yep.
I think, there was less, people weren't as, I don't know, man. It's just, maybe there were better people. I don't know.
We're crossing the street at
Nobody
Zelda.
knows their neighbor or anything now.
Yeah, back then.
Nobody says hello.
Back then it was like you had to. That was the thing.
You weren't hiding, or you weren't love thy neighbor, all that kind of stuff. There was a show called Love Thy Neighbor.
Yep.
And they made a porno out of that one. Love the neighbor. They took thy out, and they put the, and it's all everybody at the community pool throwing a gangbang on Melissa Pleasures.
You had to pick that VHS up at the lobby.
Out there, Cochu.
Yeah. So the Valley. Well, he said get into trouble. What was some of the trouble you got into?
I
mean, you've already talked about a lot of that.
I had a couple DUIs. One.
Cool.
One there at Sepulveda and by Matt and Tony's Fox. But overall, by the Bear Pit right there on Sepulveda, not far from where this guy lives, there was a lot of great places to get in trouble back there.
Sepulveda. When I lived off of Sepulveda and Roscoe.
Yeah.
Well, that was a little rough. And then there was a lot of
Wogglies over there. A lot of professionals right there.
8-Ball Cabaret.
8-Ball Cabaret Andy, one of the dudes that called last weekend in Las Vegas at 12:30 in the morning.
Awesome.
The one that said, "Hey, what'd you call me to tell me everything I did wrong?" Andy says to me, "Hey man, I'm playing a pool tournament. Come and watch me at the 8-Ball Cabaret, that pool tournament."
Oh no!
And as I walk in, I guess the game started. I guess he scratched at the 8-ball in on the first shot. And as I walk in, he's shaking hands with the dude. It's over.
Oh, are you
I just
serious?
got there.
That's awesome.
I didn't tell him that when I called him at 12:30 in the morning. I have to say that one for the next time I call him.
The
Valley was a great the Valley is world famous, but at that time it was making this place. It was a great place to grow up.
And back in the time, Rubens was one of the places you go to party. That was like a Rubens and Black Angus. Those were big.
Black Angus was a good place to get some choncho right there. Stuart Anderson.
Yeah, the onion, red onion. Yeah.
Don Cuco's. El Gato on Sepulveda was a place that you could go in there. You could get blown right there while you're waiting for your entree. You get there, you're like, you know what? I'm not even hungry anymore.
That's right. And a busboy comes right up to you. El Presidente, one of my favorite places. Yeah, come on. That was a great
Lenny
place.
Bruce is buried right there across the street from Presidente in the
Ow, how did I not know that?
Jewish mortuary there.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Lenny Bruce, that's where Lenny Bruce he fell out. He died, and whatever he died.
He died in
with a needle in his arm. He's
store.
over there by
wow, crazy.
by where I was. They probably said, go put him over there by George. Both two fuckers over
there. All right.
Richie Valens is buried right there.
The same one as oh wow. Why? What's he doing over
and
there?
Also William Slady,
Here we go.
who was Barney Rubble's voice. No, it wasn't. There's some other puto than this, Mr. Slade.
So he's in the same graveyard?
Bob Hope is buried in the same place that a portion of my grandmother is, and my grandfather, and Richie Valens.
Wow. That's a...
He's probably there going, hey, can I get moved somewhere else? I'll tell you. There's not a lot of room in here.
I'm glad we had this.
But it's the only mortuary that they had to tell the farmers there was a farm that get the fuck, go grow corn somewhere else. 200 people are dying.
Really? They had to shut them down. They had to move them out. Oh, wow. Crazy.
It was a small cemetery growing up.
And now?
My grandma wanted to be married next to Dennis Weaver. She loved McLeod. I told her it's not going to happen.
not your grandfather, Dennis Weaver?
I think Ernie used to call my grandfather Dennis Weaver because my grandmother was so crazy about McLeod.
Oh, wow. Great show.
He used to do bank commercials in his McLeod jacket after my grandma get all. She would try to go find the basketball to dribble. And when I was doing my show, her dog's name was McLeod.
Oh,
there was
my
a German
God.
Shepherd that chased us out of the kitchen, and that dog's name was McLeod.
No kidding. Man.
My grandmother loved Dennis Weaver.
Yeah.
And she would even say it because I would go to Farrell's or something where I saw John Holmes eating ice cream. And which was right there on Reseda and Devonshire. And she would say, Mira, hey, Jordan, have you seen Dennis McLeod? Tell him to come over here because everything I got is his. There's no need to eat ice cream after that. At Farrell's, where they would sell kids ice cream with little pieces of plastic you could choke on.
Choke on. That's awesome.
And then they buy you that licorice, that long licorice.
Yeah, that's
And then
great.
you take the licorice, you tell Ernie, hey, go over and see if this licorice is as long as that dude's red guy because your mom's sitting next to you.
Oh, God. And then
He would take off.
Yeah. What was that show that they were all on? Dennis Weaver, Heck Ramsey.
Oh, shit.
What was that show? They all came out. It was like it was old school.
Rawhide.
No, it was pretty much, but it was
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. No, fucking bullshit names.
It was with Susan St. James, and Rock Hudson was on that too.
The mystery, the NBC Mysteries.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Mystery.
McMillan and wife.
Yeah, McMillan and wife. Yeah, they were all in the same kind of thing.
Right, the wife would have to be in there. It's McMillan.
Yeah.
And not McMillan and McMillan. He's like McMillan and wife. Like that bitch had to be in there somewhere.
Right.
Like you're not gonna let you put your name unless you let everybody know you're married. Gotcha.
Do you think she was hot?
What was her name?
Susan St. James. I did. I thought she was like way too young for Rock Hudson.
You know, one of the things about having some notoriety right now is that if I wanted to go out there and bang out a couple of ladies that were actresses, you know, Lily Munster's gone. Philly D from Vegas is gone, but there might be a couple over there in the home over there in Woodland Hill that you might go in there and you're like,
the old
is that the lady from Mr. Ed? And just go in there and
I used to have a crew.
what if you saw somebody, you know, like, let's see, who was hot? The girl from Emergency, Dixie. What if she was in a retirement home right there where you grew up in Zelza and Balboa?
Yeah. Dixie with her smoky voice. There's plenty of them.
What other one?
Fanny Flagg was great at
Fanny Flagg with the big tatas, and or you know, Joan Van Ark.
Oh. Falcon's Crest. Caw. Let's go to Lisa Arturo, our pet expert.
I've been excited about having her. No,
This is gonna be great. She's greatest.
No, she's a beautiful individual, I'm sure.
I met her 6 years ago.
She's
wonderful
great.
woman. Today's guest for George is wonderful
Man,
actress.
Dude.
It's hard to get
You're
started.
the worst.
But it's hard to get started on these. It's
I wouldn't
like,
even let you announce high tide, eh?
It's high
If I
tide.
was a fucking lifeguard, I would
jacked it
say,
up again.
somebody else got to do it.
At 3 o'clock, it's high. Shit. Okay, let me know if I missed any. Actress, dog expert, animal activist, rescue warrior, and pet matchmaker.
And tango dancer.
Lisa Arturo, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I don't know where to start. Let's see. How many dogs do you think that I've rescued? How many? What did you say? 20?
I'm guessing somewhere there. I asked you earlier. We couldn't come down with a number. A lot.
It's time for the honest moment. Okay. When I was growing up, all my emotion was negative. Crying, fear, loneliness, abandonment, isolation. Never was it, happy, excited. All of it was negative. And in the body of that, as growing up, you build these kind of like, everybody says walls, but you're not going to let anybody get near you because you just kind of already know that they're not going to stay, they're going to go, in life, So in picking, it's funny that my therapist is like, well, look what you did. You picked a profession that you're the only person out there. And then you picked a game that you could play by yourself, golf. So between playing the guitar, you could do by yourself, golfing and doing stand-up, I chose the things that I enjoy in my life that don't require me connecting to anybody. And when I was married, I would like to believe that, and kind of had the idea that I was, fucked up is the easy word, but that I was having trouble. I was very disconnected to emotion, and that you wouldn't want somebody to comply just because they feel like they have to, because that's false. So I played a part of somebody that was, trying to be a father to Mayan, who was great, but I didn't have a father and I didn't see that stuff. So all that stuff was really very painful to me, like Christmases, she would do big Christmases, and I didn't have really Christmases. So when I met her, instead of having a little Christmas, we had fucking big Christmases. And they just make you feel worse.
Right.
Because you have this big thing and you don't know how to celebrate it. Or Thanksgiving with all these people over. And even when I did the first show, the first year, 2002, Thanksgiving, or even when we started to go back in August, because I was, solitary as a comedian, and then all of a sudden you have a TV show, and then you have the summer off, and then you come back to work in August, and everybody's like, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I go to my room, I'm like, fuck, man, this is gonna be a pain in the ass, man. Everybody, saying fucking good morning.
There's so many people.
Fucking hey, man. And then people wanted to touch me because, the show, they was like, oh, you're so sweet. They wanted to touch me. And I would say like, hey, I really don't like anybody touching me. And they were like, oh, okay. No. I mean, I'm sure you're fine, but I just really, don't like people putting their hands on me. So we made a joke out of it. Like, don't touch it, tell it. But the first Thanksgiving that we had as a show, and the woman that played my mom, Belita, everybody had a list of what they were going to bring, food they were going to bring. So, bracarrillos and all that stuff. So you have this long table where the whole show is going to eat, like 170 people, like a row of tables, another row of tables, and then me at the head of the table. So when it was time to eat, I went to my dressing room and I hid out in there while they were eating. People were like, eating. And then I remember Valente came over and he knocked on the door. He goes, what are you doing? I said, I can't go out there, man. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I don't feel comfortable going out there. He goes, but, you know, you got to come out there. I said, nah, you know, I kind of can't. Because I think it's the idea of something that's family, that everybody got along, was foreign to me. So I'd rather be by myself than to be sitting in the stage with 150 people who are all working on the same thing and all very happy. So when you and I worked together in
2015.
And then when you said to me, I asked you what you did, and you said, I pet rescue dogs and cats, I guess, right?
Animal rescue for mostly dogs and cats.
So she said to me something that changed my life. She said, have you ever watched any videos on YouTube of animals being rescued? And I said, I never have. She goes, you know, the organization you were working with at that time, I looked and I saw myself. I saw a Chihuahua on the porch that wouldn't let anybody near him. And it was biting people and just horrific. He's in the corner showing teeth, and then the guy sits there, and he's sitting there, and then he's sitting there, and he puts a towel, you know, when he's trying to touch a dog with a towel, the dog's biting the towel, and through, you know, simple acts of like kindness, the dog starts to trust this guy, and they put the, what's that leash called? You guys call it?
It's called a snappy pole, snappy snare.
Snappy snare.
And you know, and then they'll cut to 2 weeks later, and the fucking dog's got a dress on, right on the backyard.
Oh my God.
Fucking happy.
Oh my God.
You know what? Right?
Yeah.
Because they've been beaten down so much, they're trying to protect themselves, but they come around, and that's the thing that fascinated me by watching those things. And really, if you watch one, you're going to watch 10, and it's going to look like it's an hour, and really 5 hours have gone by. And you know, it changed the way that, I think it changed the way that I lived, because I used those examples of something looking hopeless and rescuing. I mean, you've seen animals in horrific shape left behind, right? And they all run, and
They run, they hide, they're you know, you don't know if they don't want to bite, but out of fear sometimes they don't trust you, so you have to be careful. They just, you don't know what their past is, and so you have to give them a second chance, but you have to like do it in a way where they can trust you, or at least they know that you're not going to hurt them.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background, like where you're from, and what did you aspire to be when, you know, earlier in your life, and how you got to where you are? The thing.
I'm from Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl, Italian girl from Jersey, and came out here to act. So
did you come out here by yourself?
I did. I came out here to act and to dance. So I had a dance background. I was a dancer in New York City and traveled around with different dance companies, lived in Europe, lived in Japan, and then moved out to Los Angeles to act because I couldn't sing. My singing was really bad. So I would audition for Broadway shows, and they were like, "Arr." And then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to stick with acting, and came to LA. And, you know, did that for a long time. As an actress, it's all about me, 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 me. And I kind of got tired of just it all being about me.
Right.
So my dog that was out here with me for about 12 years. He had passed away, and it was so hard.
He just passed away, didn't he?
Well, that was recently,
okay.
Yes. But then at the time when I got into rescue, my personal dog had passed away, and I was just devastated. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do? I can't shake this off. And this like voice came to me and said, just be of service. And so I decided to.
Did you really hear something?
Yeah,
say,
I did. I just was like, because it was too much pain. It was so much pain, and it was like I needed to get out of it. And I was like, do something outside of yourself. Not acting, not worrying about, you know, not going to a therapist and talking about my dog dying. I wanted to do something, and so I just went into a shelter. I went into South Central, and I walked into the shelter, and I saw what was going on.
You just went to South Central shelter, and you walked in cold, and you said, hey, I'm here. I didn't
know. Well, first I just walked around and said, let's see what's going on in here. And then I can see these animals. They were like sitting in their urine and who was in the corner shaking and who
Like
was,
George, I hear my grandmother's voice. My grandmother fucking put me in everything.
you know, and because I'm Italian bossy girl from Jersey, I was like, why doesn't he have any water? Why doesn't this one have a blanket? What's going on with that one over there? And I said, okay, I have to sign up like today to become a volunteer. And so I started working in the shelter systems for as a volunteer for many years.
Do you think that people neglect animals like that and hurt them and mistreat them because there's no really way for them to kind of voice their opinion? You know, people come home and they're mean to dogs and you know they let them loose and they beat them, and then and the most unconditional love is, I think, an animal. There's some dude that was fucking sleeping with a fox. Listen, you can get a fox from the fucking woods to fucking wear a harness, and this motherfucker's walking a fox to the Starbucks. I mean, it's a fox. And you're like, man, this dude could be kissing a fox on the mouth, all happy, eating a macchiato, whatever you serve. You gave your dog one, right? With like whipped cream at Starbucks.
A puppuccino.
Macchiato.
That's not like George drinks.
Puppuccino.
You know, as a way to like kind of eliminate their troubles, almost like they're just.
We, as rescuers, we constantly ask ourselves this all the time because we're always seeing people that abandon their dogs or abuse them. I think that they're struggling and they're in so much pain themselves. A lot of people like are struggling financially or in their relationships or whatever it is, and they just don't know how. They don't know what to do with this animal, so they'll either abuse it or they'll abandon it. I get phone calls all the time like, you know, oh, we're getting a divorce. Oh, you're getting a divorce? Yeah, so can you take the dog? Well, wait a minute. Your wife can't take the dog, and you can't. You're both moving to places,
right,
and neither one of you could commit to finding housing that will take the dog. This is so confusing to me. Well, yeah, well, and if you don't take it, we're gonna drop it off at the shelter. Has it been spayed or neutered? No.
Listen, if I see a dog with his balls, I think that dude's like old school, like Studio 54, 1978. You know, because everybody neuters their dogs. So when you see one that's still has testicles, as you know, maybe 5 years or more, right, you're almost like, why would he still do that? And right?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Got to chop them off.
This is a good question because I don't think I've ever. Why do people neuter the male dog? Why do they remove their testicles?
Well, first of all, if you don't neuter your dogs, they're going to mark everywhere in your house, okay? Because they're like, this is my spot, this is my spot. They just want to claim territory, okay?
And they're marking because they're claiming their territory even in a house, right?
Yeah, in dominance. They're just like, you know, they have all this testosterone. They're going to mark their areas. This is mine. This is mine. And if there's other dogs in the house, then you have a competition happening. Right. You're like, okay, well, you're going to pee there. Well, I'm going to pee on top of it, you know, just to like, and then you have a disaster. And everyone's like
gang tags. At
yeah.
That point, yeah.
And the other reason is we don't need any more puppies in the world, right? So if you're having your dog's not neutered and it gets out and they have an accidental pregnancy, then you know we have another. And then what happens to those dogs is because they're not professional breeders or they're not rescuers, they're like, oh, my dog had puppies, and then the cousin wants one, and then the neighbor wants one, and everybody's handing out puppies. Nobody's getting vaccinated or spayed and neutered, and they're making more animals, and everybody wants a puppy. But guess what? At 8 months, 9 months old, this puppy is now a big dog, and it's a pain in the ass, and their kids don't want to play with it anymore. Right. And oh, you know what? I got this dog from my neighbor. They had litter puppies, but now we can, and we're going on vacation. And can you take the dog?
Do people just get a dog because as you grow up you think that you have the house and the picket fence and kids and a dog, right?
Right.
Are people getting dogs as a symbol? Do they love the dogs? Like if you had a dog for 7 years, I think it would be difficult to just let him go. Or take them to the shelter is a big deal because in my neighborhood, they would just let them go. Like, and this is another reason I think, you know, I don't, it could be cultural, but I did this in my stand-up when I was starting, like when the dog got sick, you know, my grandfather said, hey, when it gets dark, we'll take him for a ride. And we did. So we'll have this dog in the back seat with me, and we drive to an area not near our house, like Granada Hills, into like some streets. Then my grandfather pulls over and he says, "Open the door and let the dog out." And I'm like, "I don't open the door and let the dog out." So open the door, the dog gets out. My grandfather has his foot on the brakes and the red light is in the back. And I see the dog go like this and us pull away, and he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't want to, I don't think it's one community. I just think, you know, the way people are brought up is the way they treat dogs, you think? In a sense? People have different relationships to animals. So like it just depends how that human has a relationship to that animal. So if it's really a pet and it's a family member, you're never going to open up the door and just let it go. Right.
But also too, like we don't know, did your grandfather at the time not have the finances to take him to the vet?
No, it was a nuisance. Like they always want everything to be perfect. So if you shit in the house, out. No, first of all, no dog was in the house.
Right.
Not now. They sleep on the bed. They have their own bed change. Oh,
Right,
Sweaters.
yeah, exactly.
oh.
Your pillow.
They were always outside.
Yeah.
And when my grandfather died, that's some pretty sad stories. I bought my grandmother a Samoyed puppy, and she didn't spend any time with him. He was a great dog, Dean. I call him Dean. And didn't spend any time with him. And she told me she did, but when I would go over, he'd be in the backyard all the time. And it just, in the house, it didn't look like he was ever in the house. And my grandma was lying to me, like, "Oh, no, he's in here. You can watch TV. He's at my feet," and all that. And
What happened?
he probably lived to be like 12. And then I took him I had to put him down. I took him to the vet, and I carried him in a blanket. And I apologized to him for mistreating him, because I was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry I let you down." Like I apologized to him for not giving him a better life. I said, "I should have taken you with me." And right?
That's a tough run, right?
Right. But I think in people wanting a pet, yeah, okay, you want a pet, but the reason why there's so many is the people let them go, and then there's
Right.
they don't.
Well, in my rescue, at Big Love Animal Rescue, I have an application that's like 4 pages long. So if you want a dog, you have to answer everything. You have to fill out a very detailed application. I need videos of your house. I need to meet your whole family. Like I need to know that this dog is going to be with you for life, that it's going to live inside, and that you have the financial means to take care of it. If not, you don't get one of my dogs. End of story. That's it.
Do you think that's the biggest reason people get rid of dogs is financial?
I think it is. I think, you know, everybody likes the idea of it. It's like, oh yeah, my kids are a pain in the ass. Let's get it a puppy or a dog so we don't have to, like, you know, and then they do that kind of thing, right? And then the kids get tired of it, or the dog has got a skin issue, or there's medical stuff that comes up, and it's expensive. The veterinarian costs for animal care is outrageous. Yeah. And then someone's like, well, you know what? He's throwing up, but he'll be okay because that last vet bill was $1,200, so I don't want to deal with this again. And then they just, like, you know, it becomes a nuisance. Yeah. So
Okay, so in this last year that's been very difficult, and why are veterinarian bills so much? Why are they so much?
Because it's a business. It's a business. They're making money. They're making so much money.
They really don't need to.
They don't need to
they
charge
don't need
that
to
much.
be that high, right?
No, they don't need. Even in rescue, I'll get like 15 or 20% off. And you know, like I had a dog that I rescued from Tijuana, and she was so sick she went into the bushes to die in Tijuana, and these people found her and brought her to San Diego, and then I picked her up, and she cost me $8,000 to save her life. And she had 2 tick-borne diseases, and that $8,000 was with my discount. And she had
With the discount.
yeah, she had 2 blood transfusions. She was on IV fluids. She was in emergency hospitals, and because she was slowly getting better, and I just feel like once they're in my rescue, it's my responsibility to do everything I can. And I promised her that I was going to try to give her a better life, and so I paid $8,000. But she does need a home, and she is so happy and healthy now.
Wow, amazing.
For the people that don't have the resources like that, what can they do?
Always reach out to rescue groups and ask them if they have any resources. Unfortunately, the shelters have limited medical care, so
They really have no medical care,
they really
right?
don't
No.
have any medical care. But you can call them and ask them if they know of any low-cost clinics or hospitals or surgery centers. You can also do things if you don't have the finances for it, is start a GoFundMe or start a fundraiser. And people, it's like a family member. So you do the same thing if it was a child, right? You're like, hey, my animal's really sick. I don't have the money for this. Neighborhood chips in $10 here, $20
Fund
here.
it up, yeah.
Try to like get a fundraiser going and you know, support people in your community or support your family members. You know, this last Sunday, I got a call at 7:00 in the morning from a guy that I know that lives in his car, and he says,
Was that Willie Galt? No?
"No,
my
but you
favorite, by the way.
think Willie because he's already working out at 7 a.m." And
Willie Galt is the only dude that played professional football 30 years ago that still looks like he could still play.
oh my God, he's a maniac.
Unbelievable.
Willie
Yeah.
Galt, on my football card when I was in college, my favorite player, Willie Galt. 1985.
Thank you for that fun fact.
Thank you.
He's a good friend.
Go back to
Back to the
sleep.
replay, yeah.
Anyway, this lady died in her car,
Oh.
and in Granada Hills in the park, and she was like, she had slept and she moved back, and the dog, this gigantic senior dog, like 70 pounds, was wedged in the back seats. So I got there, and I said to the cops, I don't want this dog to go to I don't want it to go to the shelter because she's 14 and her owner died, and so this was the owner. Can I take the dog? Anyway, 3 hours later, we waited for the coroner to come, and the cops wouldn't touch the dog because the police are separate from animal control. So since I was taking the place of animal control, there were like 4 big dudes standing around, cops, and they're like, okay, well, you can take the dog. So I had to like climb in the back of the car. There was glass everywhere, and I had to like pull this gigantic dog out of the back. Wow. And I looked at her and I was like, I know that your owner died, and I'm not gonna let you go to the shelter, and it's gonna be okay. And so I have her in a foster home right now. She's 14. She's got terrible hips, and I got her $700 worth of medical care.
When you were growing up, did you like pets? Did you have dogs? And
You know
cats
what?
and-
I had a dog, but I wasn't like all about pets. I was really more about dancing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But
I did grow up with a pet. I had a family pet.
But it changed the direction of your life. I can't see you not being involved in.
Oh, I'll always do it from now on.
yeah.
It's like my thing, I mean, I'm supposed to do it. And you've been so great. You've been so wonderful with helping us out. And he has two big love dogs.
How many have I had though?
Eddie
I had
and Alex.
Leela. The one that I got from Tijuana.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
She was, poor thing. She
So-
died.
Yeah. So she smelled pretty bad. I mean, with you got her right. You found her in Tijuana, and they came to me, and
She
I
had
said,
no broken jaw.
Oh, she had
She
broken
had
jaw.
no
I remember
jaw,
that. I remember
but it
that,
wasn't
yeah.
broken. It just because she had such bad dental disease that it just deteriorated her entire bottom jaw, and that's why it smelled so bad. So we got her the dental. Remember, we got a dental, and George.
this dog was in my house. For the first time I went downstairs, I said, it smells like, it was so bad. And I called her and I said, listen, man, if this dog can't get rid of the smell, it's
Yeah.
got to go.
Yeah. And we got her a dental, and he texted me and he goes, "Oh my God, the bill was like $8,000."
Right? Oh, man.
Remember?
So, yeah, and she was maybe 12 maybe?
Yeah, she was like 12. And I said, George, we don't have to do all that stuff. We're just going to get her teeth like cleaned, and we're going to do extractions. And we got her fixed up, and it was, and her breath was fine, right? She lived for like another.
$8,000 breath.
Did I have her less than a year? I had her maybe.
Yeah, you had about 8 months.
Yeah.
I remember
so,
when that ended.
Yeah, I brought her into the house. She was great. I take them out every morning. And in the middle of the night, I heard her kind of like yelping. And she was dying.
In your arms, right?
my arms,
oh my
yeah.
God, thank you for being there for her.
And I'd never seen any pet go through that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really painful to see that. And also the idea that this dog had been so abused and yet was so loving. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people that I don't talk to because of the past. We can't get past our own past as human beings. But a dog will forget all of that. And that's what Tony La Russa, the baseball manager, started this thing in San Francisco, ARF, because he was the manager of like the Oakland A's, and he would listen to the radio and they would be talking about him. He's like, well, I'm not gonna listen to the radio. And then he went and adopted a dog, and the dog was there when he came home. The dog would run up to him, and he's like, this is what I need. And he started a foundation in Oakland.
Yeah, Northern California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you took two more Chihuahuas, Alex and Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the mistake that people make when they have? Well, first of all, why shouldn't someone buy a dog? And two questions. Why are puppy mills still around? Because years ago, we went to Oxnard, they were selling Chihuahuas for like $50, and we went and looked at one. They were covered in fleas, like 1,000 fleas on this little dog.
Wow.
And we never went back to get it. But how did that still exist?
The thing with backyard breeders and people that want to get dogs online, they go online, they look at the website, the puppy's in a pretty little basket. They're like, oh, I have to have that dog. I don't care that it's $4,000.
Right.
But you don't know where it's coming from. And these are all backyard breeders. The dogs are kept in deplorable conditions. People just want what they see on the internet, and they'll spend that money. And because everybody's buying dogs online, these breeders are continuing to do it. I heard recently someone said that bulldogs are up to like $7,000 a dog. So if you're in, Iowa and you've got your dogs, your puppies there, and people are sending you $7,000 for a puppy, why would you stop?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is a $7,000 dog? Is it? You don't.
And they pretend they have papers.
And they don't.
And they they write something up, and it's like a
Write something
we have
on the internet.
This is like a special line. This dog came from champion breeds, and who cares?
Is there a advocacy that is removing pets from like pet shops or being able to buy a cat at Petco?
Well, now in California, we don't have pet stores anymore. Now there are pet shops, but they only have rescue dogs in them.
Do you remember pet stores?
Yeah, but we did have pet stores.
What do they have in there? A
Greatest thing in the
monkey? I
world.
saw a monkey in there one time.
I never saw a monkey in there. That'd be awesome.
They had
I would die for the monkey.
giraffe. One had a little giraffe.
They tried a little baby hippo in there.
Got a little giraffe. His head here like that.
Oh man, but they closed them down. They did close them down.
And who were listen, I love a carnival as much as the next person, but to put your life in the hands of a dude who hasn't washed his hand in 7 years and who has no dental, he's got one tooth, that guy like, everybody in is black, a black ass oily hand, and these fucking things spinning all over, fucking hat flies off. Faster! Fuck, all right, motherfucker, that fucking scrambler.
Scrambler.
And they just, break your hip and bust your femur, and they move down to Valencia the next weekend. And I think that's the people that ran pet shops. I think that's because it was never a big pet shop. It was just a place you go in there.
A little storefront. Pretty much what they were, yeah.
They still try to get away with it. They try to say, these are rescue dogs. And you walk in and there's like a purebred Yorkie in there, And it's just, it's all about money. They don't care about the animal. So it's our job as the general public to, do your work and say, where am I getting a dog from? The other thing that I hear a lot is, well, I want to make sure that the dog is going to be good with my kids. And I know that Labradoodles and Yorkies, they have good personalities and they're not going to hurt my kid. But, the truth is like if you get a puppy or a dog that's young, it doesn't matter what it's mixed mess with. It's your job to set the dog up to win and get it some training and socialize it. I mean, I've adopted out a lot of pit bull puppies to families, and I make sure they get training and set the dog up to win, and they live harmoniously with the kids and with their entire family.
Well, there's a good question.
All right.
See, never mind.
Go ahead, no.
Is there something in a dog that you rescue that has been too far gone at all to bring him back to live with a family or something like that? What's that sign? What do you see in a dog that can't be socialized, if there is such a thing? I don't know.
No. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years. I have come across a few dogs that, they just have a little bit of something that's, you can see it in their eyes and they're not all there. And even though you've paid for training and everything, there have been a few times. I'm not going to adopt out any dogs that are human aggressive. It's just never going to happen. I mean, humans come first. So if a dog has to be humanely euthanized, I have had to do it a few times. It's devastating, but really, mostly, I put my dogs in training and I give them months to trust.
If someone doesn't have access to if a dog bites somebody, what should somebody do? Should they keep the dog?
Well,
or should they?
It depends on the situation. Did that dog bite because it gave a warning sign? Like, did a young kid turn around and grab its tail and it hurt the dog, so the dog bit the kid's hand? So are we going to say it's the dog's fault because the kid did that? Or did the dog just come out of nowhere and decide to attack somebody? So every situation, I have to hear the whole story, and then we have to see what's going on with the dog. Does it have any medical issues? Is there an ear infection going on? Is it sick and it's not feeling well, and so it responds? It's reactive because of something that someone did. So do we want to put the dog down or get rid of it because it bit and it's got, something medically going on with it? I ask every question like that to make sure. I mean, I'm always the advocate for the animal, so,
sure, yeah.
So when I was in the early 80s, this guy, George Lozano, lived in Pacoima in Telfair, and he used to paint cars in his garage, and we would go over there and, sit, drink beer outside, he'd paint a car. And he had a little brother named Javier. Javier would be on the house and he'd jump off. He was just like a destructive, he wasn't afraid of anything. So we go next door to that dude Sebastian, his backyard, and there's a Doberman on a chain. And he runs at Javier, and Javier doesn't move, and he's like, with the teeth, and Sebastian is kind of proud that he's like, hey, tell Javier to be careful because, that dog will bite. So we turn around and all of a sudden we hear, He grabbed the dog by the ears and bit him in the nose.
Oh, he bit the dog in the nose. I thought that was the guy yipping.
That's the kind of kid he was.
Right. Yeah, but that dog that's already on a chain, so that person wanted it as a guard dog. He's living on a chain. He's freaking out. He doesn't have much of a life, and somebody goes up and does that to him. So what's that dog's life going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be a little intense.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What kind of... You're a small dog person, right?
No, but I've owned a lot of small dogs. I like big dogs, but
what makes a person a big dog? Because I'm not a big dog person, but I'm a little dog person.
Yeah, I'm a big dog person.
But also, I felt, when I did Beverly Hills Chihuahua, the first movie, nobody expected it to be very good. And then when it became a hit, people started adopting Chihuahuas or getting Chihuahuas. And then when they realized that none of those Chihuahuas were as charming as I, that, ay, Dios mío, that they started to let them go. And they didn't want them anymore because you see this movie and they're Chihuahua. They're not, they're
right.
They shake and
same thing with that movie of 1,000 Dalmatians or the Dalmatian. Everybody was like, I want a Dalmatian, and then they thought, okay, it's not like the dog in the movie, and they were dumping them at the shelter. During that movie, there were so many Dalmatians in the shelter.
No kidding.
What's the percentage of people that dump? I would say that take a dog to the shelter as opposed to just letting it go.
Oh man, I don't know because I don't know those people, but I'll tell you what I'd like to do to them if I saw somebody dumping a dog.
We see that stuff, right?
It's sad. Or they just leave them chained up and just leave them forever. That's the saddest
or they
thing
move out of their house, or they get evicted and they just leave the dogs with no food or no water in the yard for days. I have 2 of those dogs right now. Somebody moved out, 2 pit bulls, super sweet, and they left the dog there with no food or water for days, and animal control.
That's the next. I don't think you even know this. I saw a pit bull in an organization. Did I tell you that story? In New York. It was a female. They were going to put it down. And I said, I'll get it, because it looked very docile.
Oh, beautiful. Huh?
And then it came over to L.A. The guy drove it. And I was gone, and Wendy, who watched the dog, was there. And when I came home, that
Oh,
dog
you tell me the story.
He got on it.
showed its teeth and went up on the fence in there in the house. And I stopped, and Wendy was kind of like in shock. And I said, hey, Wendy, you want to take that leash and put it on this dog? And that dog is showing its teeth. And, and I said, hey, Wendy, can you get that leash and put it on this dog? And she was just kind of like freaked out. I think if I would have turned, that dog would have jumped over that fence and I'm sure would have mauled me. And then even when we called somebody to come and pick it up, I was upstairs. It tried to go upstairs and get me. And what's the history of the pit bull? Like, I remember guys in my neighborhood would train them to be mean. And now when you look, it's awful to train a dog to...
Well, we don't know the dog's background, right? So the one that was in the shelter in New York, I would have asked, like, does it have behavioral notes? Why is it there? How old is it? Like, I would ask the shelter, what's the history of the dog? And then you've got to, is there anybody can assess the dog? Can they do like a dog test to make sure the dog is friendly with other dogs? How is it with men? How is it with women? So there's a whole bunch of questions that I ask before I pull a dog from the shelter. Because the truth is, I'm a pit bull advocate, but there are so many wonderful pit bulls in the shelter that deserve to be saved. And, I'm going to pull out the ambassadors of the breed from the shelter and save those.
Have you ever had a pit bull?
No, my son has a pit bull at this moment.
Yeah.
Sweetest dog I've ever
So
been around
sweet,
ever.
so sweet. And the ones that end up in the shelters that have behavioral issues, it's really sad because it's not that I don't want to save them, but it costs thousands of dollars to turn them around. Sometimes you have a pity for like a year or two, and board and train is like $1,500 a month. Yeah. So you need like thousands of dollars to turn a dog around, and then you don't even know if it's going to be okay. So you always look for the pit bulls that are ambassadors of the breeds, and it's really how you raise them. You need to set them up to win from the beginning. So if you've got guys that are like putting them on chains or keeping them as guard dogs or making them fight or not getting them neutered, then you're encouraging that behavior. And so then they don't want them anymore and they end up in the shelter and it's somebody else's problem, or the dog gets euthanized.
Yeah, crazy.
What's one of the first signs to maybe you have a dog that has behavioral issues or maybe needs some attention?
Well, I mean, the first thing I look at is body language. Is its tail its tail moving and its butt kind of like this? Is it stiff and like that? Is its ears up, or is its eyes darting? So you can tell if a dog is nervous, or if it's like friendly, or if it's just insecure. So, you're not going to go up to a dog that's like has its chest out and its tail, because people go, well, its tail is wagging his tail, but a nervous wag is this. A friendly wag is when its whole butt is moving. Yeah. So this means nervous, and I don't know if I like you. So you have to look at the dog's body language. And also, you know what? You can't have a pit bull on one of those body harnesses with an extended leash that you would walk a poodle on, You have to make sure you have the right equipment for an animal that's going to be able to understand,
your commands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is dog park etiquette? If someone goes to a dog park, what's the etiquette? Should the dog stay on the? Because I never really took my dogs, but I was concerned if they start to fight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One's not on the leash and one is. And
that's a good question. Here's the dog park rules. If you own a dog that is dog selective, meaning it likes some dogs and it doesn't like others, don't take your dog to the dog park. If your dog is not spayed or neutered, do not take your dog to the dog park, because if your dog's not neutered and he happens to be a submissive dog and there's an alpha that is neutered, he is going to sense the testosterone on him and attack the dog that is not neutered, even if he is a back of the pack dog. So you have to make sure that like, oh, but I didn't get my dog neutered, and everybody's attacking it.
Never would.
Because all the testosterone smell from the other alpha dogs are like, he's got his balls. Let's go get him. So
okay, say it again. Say those two again because did you ever notice that? I didn't.
No,
know
I
that.
did not know
so
that.
if you have
I'm learning this.
if you have a back of the pack dog, okay, like just more friendly, submissive, not alpha, and he's not neutered. And then you have another dog at the dog park who happens to be, an alpha dog, but he got neutered. They can, they smell each other's butt. They can tell everything, age, if they're sick, male, female, all of that. So the testosterone, they can smell that, and it can cause a fight because they're like, oh, just by sense,
packing,
by
right,
pack and mentality, if it starts to be a play, it can turn into a fight. And the other thing is like when the dogs are playing, you want to keep it at a level 5, 6. So if dogs are like rough housing and stuff, when it gets to like an 8, 9, like the dogs are going for the neck, they're going for the front of the legs. You want to break it up and reset. Like let's stop, go for a walk, because you don't want it to escalate. And then people get in between and try to break up a dog fight, and everybody's screaming and making it worse. And I actually don't like dog parks because I think you have to be a very responsible pet owner to take your dog to
I don't
the
think
dog
most
park.
people are responsible pet owners. I think they have pets. I don't know if they understand.
I agree.
If dogs are fighting in the dog park and people try to jump in, how do you get dogs to not fight? What do you do if they're fighting?
I mean, if the dog, one of the things you can do if dog is fighting, the dog that actually has its mouth on the other dog, you want to go behind it and pick up its back legs, because if you lift its back legs really high, you're hoping that the jaw drops open, right? You never want to try to pull the dog that's being attacked away, because you're just going to be doing a lot of tearing. If you have any kind of water, anything to get into the dog's face that's actually attacking the dog. And trying not to get bit is...
I did not know that. I've been in the middle of dog fights, and I've just...
Here's one thing I want to say. If you're watching your dog and you can see the body language before, you can see if a fight is going to happen. If you're like, all the things I just said, if it starts off at like a 5 and it's getting escalating and you're like, oh, I don't like the sound of that, you can avoid a fight. But if you're like on your phone and you're not paying attention.
Which most people are not paying attention, yeah.
And they're talking to each other. They're a lot of times not even looking
I think
at
I could do that with Chicanos, not with dogs. Like I would say, hey man, the fucking dudes are gonna throw down. But not with dogs. We're like, hey, come over here. It's gonna be up. This guy's gonna attack each other.
Well, I know you turned George on to rescuing dogs. What is your day or week like as far as rescuing animals?
It's 7 days a week, all day long. You really don't take a break from it. Just on my way over here today, someone said, "Oh, this dog has been in the shelter for 6 months. It's a really sweet pit bull. I'll pay for a month of training if you can pull the dog." Then there's another little Benji-looking dog that's really sick, and somebody turned it in because the owner didn't have any money for it, and so it's like it's in a lot of pain in the shelter, and they're begging me to take it. So I've got those phone calls. Then I get phone calls of people that are getting a divorce or having a baby, or there's a dog in a ditch over there, and can you drive and get this dog that's under the car? And so I have to pick and choose what I can handle.
So you receive a lot of calls. But it seems like you're always you're reaching out as well, though. It seems like you're kind of scanned, because it says you did the Tijuana thing, and you're actually on the lookout all the time.
No, people are still people in Tijuana are like, "Can you take this mom and baby?" Yeah.
But do they let you bring them across the border? Because I know that it's a bunch of kids up there putting dog suits on.
We just put a lot of boxes and luggage, and we just blankets.
Really?
And do.
Oh, wow. So you can't.
I bat my eyelashes.
There you go. Well done.
Hi.
Yeah.
And
You do what you got to do.
I met you 6 years ago, and I'm sure you don't remember, but you taught me how to possibly help a dog that's stray and running in the streets.
Right.
Maybe you could share that too, because
get some bologna?
all the time.
Yeah, so when you see a stray dog, the last thing you want to do is start running after it, because then the dog's like, oh my, danger. So you want to get down to its level. If the dog is not running, you kind of just sit down. Don't make eye contact right away. If you have any kind of food, and you can toss some pieces of chicken or cheese or whatever you have, to try to lure the dog next to you, because they pick up on energy. So if your energy is really calm and you don't seem to be a threat, then it's not going to run away. I've seen dogs on the streets that are stray, and people that, like gardeners or postal workers. They're not looking at the dog, so they just walk past it. And the dog is like, oh, that's that guy from the other day. They don't feel threatened by it. So you can't chase a dog. You have to be able to. And then if you had some equipment, that would be great. But if you don't, and you could like leash the dog, and then if not, at least call rescue or call animal
Yeah, because
control.
we've all seen that, been in that scene where there's a busy intersection and there's a dog running around. You've got 20 people chasing this dog, and it's like chaos, right? I
Yeah.
don't know
I
what
see
the
with your
best
wife
thing to
in the
do.
parking lot throwing chingazos, kids running around.
Well, sometimes we see through the fogged up
Yeah. I mean, there's
mirror.
lots of, believe it or not, even like on freeways, there's so many dogs that end up on the freeways, or people dump the dogs on the freeways. So
Oh my gosh.
that's a hard rescue to do.
What has the pandemic done to the shelters? Like they're
Well, the shelters are closed down, so people you can still adopt a dog, but you can't go in and see it. So you have to kind of adopt it sight unseen. And that's been really tough. So a lot of rescue during the pandemic have stepped up and trying to pull dogs out, put them in foster homes, and get them adopted because you're not allowed in the
Can you
shelters.
pull it? Is animal regulation still going around and collecting dogs and all that? If the dog's out there?
Well, I don't work for animal control, but the other day when I was helping that dog, that lady that died, and I took her dog, the cops had said to me, wow, I wish, I would have had your card, because when the shelters are closed during the pandemic, we were rescuing, we were helping people, and we'd see these animals and say, we don't know what to do with them because animal control is not coming. So they just would leave them.
Oh, man.
When did organizations like yours start? Because I think growing up, it was called the Pound. The Pound and get a dog, right?
And
Take
they
that
have,
dog to
a
the
bad
Pound.
connotation. Like
Yeah.
I
kill
guess
dog
so. I mean,
killers.
I hope that they've been going on for many, many years. When I came to LA back in the 90s, there were definitely rescue organizations, and there's just not enough of them. And the other thing is that people think like, oh God, well, there's a rescue's going to take care of it.
Right.
There's so many animals in the shelter that just need help. And then even for me, I want to help more, but gosh, it's so expensive. So, to take any of these dogs, people think I have a brick and mortar location,
Right.
but I don't.
You don't.
Or they're like, where's your shelter? Oh, this fairy tale land of, dogs frolicking in the
you
sun.
aspire. Like I want to help you do that. I think maybe with the sales of the beer,
I think so.
a percentage
That'll
of it
work.
should go to the foundation.
I know.
The way that we're drinking,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
we would have had that one cage back down with a water hose to wash it.
I think I've just
Wait.
earned some stock in the company just since this started. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming. I mean, that's such a help, and thank you for what you do.
Oh,
How can people find you? Big Love.
Big Love Animal Rescue. We're on Instagram at Big Love Animal Rescue. We're on Facebook. Our website is bigloveanimalrescue.org. And there's all ways to donate through the website and on Instagram.
If a dog can tell if a person, it's funny when you see women, that have dogs, and if you go over and the dog likes you, the woman immediately says, "Oh, wow, she doesn't like anybody," and or if the dog doesn't like somebody, they're pretty good judge. That's also a judge of
Right,
character, right?
right.
Somebody that we know that the dog did not like the guy and barked at the guy, and the guy wasn't very nice to the dog, but the girl was all about the dog, and
He probably
the dog knew.
read the energy. He read that the guy didn't have,
Crazy.
yeah, he was like, I don't like that guy. You have to really, and just be very chill, and the dogs can sense that.
What about Beauty and the Beast? You think people will marry dogs in the future, like they'll have those Jimi Hendrix jackets on, walk down the aisle, have a big party?
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a good way to get a date, you guys, if you want to just like have a little puppy around or a little dog, cute little dog. There'll be a lot of women.
Little magnet there.
What makes somebody a crazy dog person? Because I don't think you're a crazy dog person. I've seen and dealt with some myself. What have you seen someone do that you said this person is a crazy
dog or crazy cat person?
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of circles back to what you were saying earlier when you were telling your story about, not wanting people near you. I think there are some people that don't relate to humans, and they get so much unconditional love from animals, and it fills them where they just want so many of them because they're not a good people person.
Did you know that? I didn't know
I would have
that.
never put that together. I just thought they were crazy. But I get it.
But
It makes
crazy
perfect sense.
because
So
Perfect sense.
if somebody is living alone in Riverside, alleged, and they got
And, you know,
great
they're-
gardens over there in Fontana.
And they're lonely,
and
and
they're
their
all alone,
husband
the
left
cats-
them or whatever, and they get astray, and this cat is kissing, and then there's another one, and it fills their life. And
Does that
they
make sense?
and
It
they
does.
and they
Perfect sense.
actually might not even have the money for the animal, and they kind of don't care. They're just like, I love this feeling
just
that it's
fixated
giving
on the
me,
love, right?
and I'm gonna just I'll throw food at it. I don't have money, and everybody's making kittens and puppies, but they need that feeling because they can't get it from humans. So that is what I've noticed.
That makes a lot of sense.
Lot. Explains a lot of
It's a
French.
crazy.
In 2003, I bought a Chihuahua in Riverside before I knew about rescue. Chico, he just passed. He was like 17, 16. And then I went and did Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and I bought mine, found Trixie, his old lady. And then when we were living up in Pebble Beach, they had a baby, and his name was Monty. And he was born, and he was at the vet. And then Ann said, you got to go pick up Monty at the vet and pay for the cesarean. I wrote a check for a dog cesarean.
Unreal, right? That's so great.
And I thought, I'm out of the fucking hood now.
I saw a picture of you put a sweater on one of the Chihuahuas.
Must.
Yeah. I think it was a nice.
Not only that, we throw a fashion show at night. But then also the sweaters and all that stuff with it, you know.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a reluctant rescuer. I appreciate, and I know they appreciate, like they say, somebody, you know, they know when you rescued them, because when you see them behind a cage or the fence, and if anybody, listen, I would say to anybody that's listening, like if you got 15 minutes, go to YouTube and look up, what would you look up? Dog getting adopted from a rescue?
Well, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Big Love Animal Rescue, and you can see the animals that I saved from the shelters. You can see, I just have my latest video. I crawled into a sewer and pulled out 6 puppies.
Wow.
So I do these extreme rescues. Not always, but you can see dogs and animals and cats getting rescued, and people really like giving them a second chance.
Yeah, I saw that thing. It's a kind of the small tunnel. You go in there and get them out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got?
No, so what would you say? What would your, like, from being on the show, what would your big note to be to end on, to tell people about what you do?
I think I would say, like, first of all, if you're gonna get a dog, it is a life commitment. So you better think about if you have the finances for it and you have the time for it, because you have to remember, you have friends, you have a whole family, you have a whole life. That animal, you are its whole life. So when you're gone, you're working all day, you come home, it's waiting for you. Right, so the animal has to have a full life too, and if you can't give that dog a good life, or that cat, then don't get an animal.
When the late Merle Haggard, who was a wonderful musician, legend, he was performing at the Saban on Wilshire, and I'd seen a documentary on the road about him, and he had a hard life. And then I said, I want to go see him. So his tour manager said, Merle's on the bus. So we go in there, smells like weed. You open the door, smells like weed. I'm like, all right. And then Merle has a George Dickel whiskey, and they're all drinking from the bottle, no glass. He says, we're country folk. We don't believe in glasses, so we're all drinking from the bottle. And it wasn't until I almost left that on Merle's right hip was a Chihuahua that was right in there with him. And the wife said, oh, the dog doesn't leave his side. Like, it was like, you couldn't even see it, like, just right there.
So sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for Alex, because he's a great dog, isn't he?
Oh, he's awesome.
You got to meet him?
I was messing with him today.
He can hold his breath underwater 2 minutes.
They call
Lisa.
that a bath.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Lisa
so much
Arturo.
for
I
having
hope that
me.
people
Thanks so
will listen to that and go on YouTube and go to Big Love Rescue and donate, and also be considerate if you look about having a pet.
And also, when the shelters open up again, go volunteer for a rescue group. Like, get involved. Just see how you can participate and help us out, because we can't do it alone.
Like you, Bryan.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Lisa.